All right, we're locked and loaded. Hello and welcome to the Rithmm Rundown. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Cade and I, my partner in crime, Mr. Cade Harper, fellow wise guy, we will be doing this every Thursday night, 6 o'clock to around 6:45, 7 o'clock. The whole goal of this live stream is to teach you guys how to use rhythm to your advantage. So what Cade and I have been doing, this is now, Cade, can you believe it? This is our third show, and I think we're getting better each time, man. We're getting more reps. We know each other's betting tendencies a little bit at this point, and what I love is that you and I are kind of taking a little bit different approaches. Like I talk to you, and you're so sharp. You're like, oh, I got this number way better much earlier. So you set your own lines. You're a true sharp. You're betting these numbers early, which is great. I'm kind of doing it a little differently. I'm looking at what the market's doing and trying to figure out where the edge is based on line movement, splits, and what the rhythm kind of numbers are telling us. So I think this is a great live stream, you and I together, because we're kind of offering two different approaches that the viewer, the listener can kind of take a little bit from you, a little bit from me, and lean most heavily obviously on what Rithmm is predicting. So we do have another big show for you tonight, Cade. Looking forward to it. Here's the rundown. I want to kind of give people who are listening, tuning in, an idea of what we're going to talk about. Obviously every Thursday night stream is going to start with Thursday night football. So we got Commanders, we got the Packers here tonight. I got to play on this game. I know you do as well. Also have a good rhythm edge in this one. Then we're going to talk about some games this upcoming weekend. I'm really excited about Jets and Bills. This has been another sharp move where Rithmm is kind of right aligning with the line move. And then Eagles Chiefs. This one scares me a little bit, Cade, but I do like the edge here in this Eagles Chiefs game. So I'm looking forward to that. And then a little college football. Clemson, Georgia Tech is one that's caught my eye, as well as Georgia and Tennessee. So I'm really excited to break down those games. But Cade, how you doing, man? How you feeling? How did last week work out for you? I got a notebook of winners that we handed out on last week's stream. So how you feeling, buddy?
Yeah, we did good last week. Me personally, I mean, I barely went negative. I was literally negative by like $5. So a little lunch money negative.
And that's a win.
Week,
that's okay. Bettors don't know this. That's a win. That's a good week.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'll take that over anything. Yeah. Better than, double that or triple that even. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, had a great show last week. Like you said, gave out some tickets. I got my Starbucks coffee and feeling a little bit groggy on the Thursday, but we're getting through it. Going to hit the Wingstop after this for Thursday night game. So let's do it.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. And by the way, like we were talking earlier, Cade, I see myself at my younger self, my young grinder self in you a little bit, because we were joking earlier, like this is my job full time, being a sports betting analyst. You, my friend, you're like, you're Clark Kent, Superman. You got your day job, grinding it out, and you're a wise guy turning this into a career. So shout out to you, man. But I just wanted to mention just a couple games we hit on last week, because I think, before we get into these games, these were good examples of what we look for. So believe it or not, it feels like a year ago, Cowboys opener. Cade, you and I last week were talking about how the Cowboys were providing a lot of value, plus 8.5. They were kind of an inflated play off the opener against the Eagles. Everyone was playing Eagles, but that plus 8.5 got juiced up, started to come back down. Rithmm had a 7.6 game. So that was an edge where the market and Rithmm were kind of telling us that's a valuable play. They end up losing by 4, covering the number. Remember the Jets, Fireman Ed, the Jets, Jets. Okay, they should have won that damn game, but ended up losing by 2. Hey, fine by us. They covered the 3. We talked about James Madison. Remember that one? They were getting 14.5. Some books were like 15-ish, but they ended up losing by 14. Rithmm had a 13.6 game. That was a nice winner. Baylor, I'm still dripping with sweat after that one, Cade, because Baylor had to go to double overtime at SMU. Public all over SMU. Line moved back toward Baylor, 3 to 2.5 or so. Rithmm had a 2.1. Baylor got it done in OT. And then really the game that I was excited about, and I'm kicking myself, Cade, because I went money line. I should have had the guts to lay the points. But the Sooners, Oklahoma, public was all over Michigan. But that line kept moving toward the Sooners, 2.5, all the way up to like 4.5, 5.5. Remember, Rithmm had a 6.2 or a 7.5, the two models that I had. So, again, combining the market and what it's telling, my whole goal is I want the market and the sharps to be clearly on one side taking a position, and then I want that position to be supported by what Rithmm is telling us. So those are just some games there that jumped out to us. But yeah, any of those, you're still excited about, Cade? Any thoughts on those ones I just rattled off for you?
Oh, those were, I mean, we broke them down to a T. Everything that we pretty much said that we wanted to happen seemed like it fell into place. And then obviously in Oklahoma's case, yeah, it's you've seen the proof in the pudding. So it's there.
Yeah, that was great to see. So here we go. Let's waste no more time. I always want to give people a few minutes to file in here, kids. So I kind of ramble at the start to let everyone file in here. But we got a lot to get to. So obviously, we're going to start off with this huge Thursday night game. We got the Commanders visiting the Green Bay Packers. And this one is interesting for a few different factors. So what I like to do, you're on the homepage. Of course, we have these fantastic new smart signals, which are basically Rithmm's highest rated model plays that we're going to go through for some of these games here. You can obviously just hold your phone up if you're watching this, screen, get right in here, download Rithmm. And again, if you want to give Rithmm a shot, save 25% off. Use the promo code START25. So I'm going to log right in, get right into our account here. And what I am hit the wrong one here. There we go. Actually, you know what, Kate? I got to do a different one. Where is it? All right, here we go. So let's pull up the breakdown for this one. And what I always try to start to do is just first start with the betting market is telling us. So really what jumped out to me for this one, Kate, is the fact that public is going Packers here. Obviously, Green Bay looked awesome, crushing the Detroit Lions in week one. They're only favored by 1.5. I should have hammered Green Bay on that one, Cade. But they come up huge. Obviously, Detroit couldn't get much going. They lost their coordinators. Micah Parsons, he's another question mark. Looks like, I don't know if you have any updates on him, Cade, but he should play, but it's a short week. He's coming off an injury. Either way, public is really falling in love with Green Bay. In this spot, I remember the Commanders also, don't remind me, I had the Giants in the points. Remember I said either Giants are going to make me look like a genius or an idiot, Cade, right, and they couldn't get anything going, so I was an idiot for that one. But either way, both teams 1-0, both teams covered in week one. This one's intriguing to me because this game opened Green Bay, some shops as low as Packers -1.5, a lot of -2.5s. 2.5s got up to 3, a lot of 3s got up to 3.5, and we were pretty much sitting painted across the board, Packers -3.5. And when it was Packers -3.5, to me, I had to respect the fact that the line moved toward Green Bay. But this is what I really like to do, Cade. Bet against the public in these heavily bet primetime games. So it's Thursday night. Everyone's getting lubed up, getting ready for the weekend. They're just saying lay it here with Green Bay. Yes, the line moved toward Green Bay, but something very important happened to me, in my opinion. Once this line got to 3.5, it didn't fly through the hook and get up to 4. It hit 3.5, started to come back down. So now we're seeing across the board mostly 3s, seeing this line kind of revert back to the Commanders, even though about 2/3 of spread bets at DraftKings are going with the Green Bay Packers. So I'm looking at taking the points here, Cade. I think it's an opportunity to kind of buy low. And if you look at a couple other factors for this game, like on the one hand, I mentioned how it's a big contrarian play at DraftKings, National Public Book. But if you look at Circa, these really good bet splits you can get at vsin.com, only 36% of spread bets are on the Commanders, but out in Vegas, they're getting 80% of spread dollars. So the fact that this line shot up toward Green Bay, starting to come back down, a lot of these hooks are gone, which obviously if you're going to play Commanders, you really need that hook, and you're happy to see that get down to 3. But low bets, higher dollars. You got some system matches that I love. Short road dogs, 6 or less, or 55% ATS since 2019. Primetime dogs, 4-0 so far ATS this year, 54% against the spread since 2020. We have seen Jaden Daniels in general cover the number 65% of the time, 63% of the time as a dog. And then kind of the final angle for me, if we go to this game and figure out what Rithmm is recommending for us, find this game. Now, they're both on Commanders. That's what I love to see. They aren't quite the Green Star recommended plays, but if we pop open my two models, Kate, I got Commanders plus 2.4, and then I have Commanders plus 2. So I jumped on the plus 3.5 with the hook. I like the fact this is coming back down. Again, Rhythm's giving me an edge. They're saying it's a 2.5 point game. I'm getting 3.5. So I'm going Commanders plus 3.5. Kate, what's your take on this game? And I believe you got a good number very early for this one.
Yeah, I was able to grab the Packers at the opening line of the -1.5, and then took that, and then I ended up doubling down just because of how confident I love Matt LaFleur in these early games, season games. For my trend lovers, I don't like to bet strictly off of trends. It's just something to take note of a lot in these kind of games, especially early in the year. LaFleur is 12-0 against the spread in weeks 2 and 3 in his career as a whole. And overall, looking at last week of how Green Bay handled Detroit in the first half, because they definitely let their foot off the gas in the second half. Everybody, yeah, that was rough. It kind of scared me for a minute. They ranked 4th in DVOA in week 1. And then, obviously, like I said, the majority of the Lions' yards were gained in that second half. But they blitzed at the lowest rate last week, yet they still managed to bring a ton of pressure to Jared Goff last week. Now, those of you who watched Commanders either last week or even last season for that matter, you would know that Commanders absolutely struggle in that unit of offensive line. My opinion, I think LaFleur brings it after Jaden Daniels. I know he's mobile. They have to contain him is going to be the biggest thing. My model has them at 2.4. So I do like my 1.5 play, but I did double down for another half a unit at 2.5 just because I liked the line before the hook, obviously. Yeah, I just think it's a good primetime spot. Green Bay in primetime, especially at night, is always a hostile environment for whoever they're playing regardless. This is a big NFC game early in the year to play. But yeah, I like LaFleur early in these type of games for sure.
Actually going to back you up on one. I'm going to give you a question. I'll give you a comment here too. My comment would be, you were talking about obviously laying the 1.5, 2.5 at that point. To me, and I had a lot of, when I do my podcast, the All Systems Go pod powered by Rithmm, you can check it out, Spotify, iTunes. CK, you got to throw in that little subtle promo. So don't be afraid to promote your pod too, my man. But this is something a couple people were like, well, what about Survivor? What about Packers winning this game straight up? And I do have some numbers for you, because remember, Thursday night football games are a little different animal than a Sunday, a Monday. Basically, the short, compact week, it makes it difficult, especially on the road team, the traveling team. It's also because you have less time to game plan and prepare. We have historically seen that to be an advantage for the favorite, as well as sometimes unders do better, just because you don't have all that time to install a very complex game plan and different packages. So sometimes you dumb it down a little bit. But here's the number that I wanted to give you: Thursday night football favorites. Now, this is not ATS. I'm plus 3.5 with the Commanders, because to me that's a value play. Line's coming back. Rhythm's got a 2, yada yada. But just winning the game, they're 204 in 78, 72% straight up, 6% ROI since 2006. So basically, the Thursday night favorite is winning 3 out of 4 times. Now, when that's like a -7 favorite or -10, and you have to lay a huge number, you're not really turning much of a profit here. But I'm seeing right now on the money line -160, -170, not a terrible number there. So what I'll just throw to you, Kate, is when do you decide money line versus spread? Is it sub 3, you lay the points, or do you money line because odds makers are telling you it's going to be a close game and you want to get that security of just sweating, saying I got to win it instead of win by 2 or 3?
This is more tough because technically I'd be going against my model if I took the 2.5 that I have right now, which I don't know if it's going to come back and bite me. We don't know yet, obviously. But given the insight that I have, and then obviously the research that I've done, based on a confidence rating, I guess would be a perfect example. I would say that I'm more confident in Packers making this more than a 1-possession game than I would be making them in a dogfight into this game. Just solely based off of week 1 performances. Packers obviously played a better team. They clearly dominated at home. Commanders, we don't really know if they played a good team. Honestly, can't even tell what the Giants are this year yet. But yeah, know one thing for certain, going back to the offensive line, it's been bad. So I think it's Packers winning with more margin more often. I think it's a good spot to impress a vulnerable Commanders defense, pass defense specifically, because they finished 20th in pass defense last year as well. I would expect a more complete performance, especially from Jordan Love. When he's healthy, I think he's on. So in terms of a confidence rating, I would rather take the points here just because it would be a better price and better value in my opinion. But yeah, and technically fading odds makers, I guess you could say in that matter. But yeah, more of a confidence rating thing for me.
Yeah, I totally respect that. And, to me, I'm playing Commanders because I'm just a data guy. You know, the 3.5
Right.
value, the line's coming back, but like I must admit, I'm banking on a little bit of Jaden Daniels magic here. Like maybe they're down by 10 late fourth quarter, and you got to score a touchdown to make it a 3-point game, and you cover by the hook. So maybe there's a backdoor cover, and obviously you know I think when you're a dog, typically it's one of two things: you want to have a really good defense, keep the game low scoring and close, and cover the number, or you want a dog who can score, who can put up points and keep pace, obviously, with the opposing offense. So that's my play here. I'll take the points. And Kate, it would be nice if Packers won by 3 perfectly, just 3
We
points.
can both win. Yeah,
we both win. You get your money, your early 1.5. I get my 3.5. Everyone's happy here. Any thoughts on the total, Cade? Because we have seen this total tick up. I mean, it was basically around, I want to say it opened like 47.5, 48.5. It's now up to 49 at some shops. Now, it's not a huge public play. Like right now at DraftKings, it's only 55% of tickets on the over. And I do have some systems here. Unders were the story of week 1. Unders went 12-5, aside from obviously that insane Bills game that flew way over. But primetime unders, 58% since 2019. Primetime unders when the total is high, 47.5 or more. They're 59% since 2019. Now, Green Bay, weather should not be an issue. It's a great night. No snow, really no wind at all. So there's really no weather at play for this one. We do have some models here that are kind of leaning over. 50.5 predicted by Rithmm, one of my models. My other model is basically the same 50. Any thoughts on this total? What do you have for a number? And where would you lean if you had to go one way or the other?
Me personally, I think this goes back to my point with the Packers offense. I think them solely being the team that they are, I expect them to attack the ball through the air a ton tonight. And that's obviously going to start with Jordan Love, which I guess you could say it leads me to his prop that I have as well. I have their over passing attempts. Mainly it's an environmental thing. They had a 70% drop back rate in the first half, and then obviously it flipped. They went up 17-3 at halftime, and then they just, they let the foot off the gas, like I was saying earlier. But they ran 47 plays with only 24.5 minutes of possession, but Love had just had 22 attempts. It's going to be a much friendlier environment in terms of the weather. I think Washington does keep things competitive. And like you were saying, you're going to need a dog that scores in these kind of games. But I think it forces Jordan Love and the Packers overall to attack the ball downfield more deeper into the fourth quarter. I don't think he's going to be mistaken for like a Joe Burrow type of market. But I mean, I don't think you're going to see any book floating like 36 plus pass attempts ever. But I mean, for him, a reason, obviously. On the other hand, the pressure to sack rating was the third lowest last year. He's also extremely good at extending plays. Week 1 is always chaos. Week 2 obviously gives us some real usage to kind of put our minds toward in a way. It looks in a little bit of like an overreaction in terms of a low total, knowing how talented both of these offenses are and can be. So with that being said, yeah, I do lean the over. I don't have the over, but I guess with everything that I have and that I like, that would be my play if I had a choice.
Yeah, and I got to respect the fact that this late movement is leaning over. I mean, when I was looking at this game earlier today, it was pretty steady, 48.5, and you are seeing these 49. So that late movement, limits are raised, bigger bets are coming in. Something you definitely got to respect. It's just hard for me, Cade. Primetime overs. I'm just like a death taxes, primetime dog, primetime unders type guy. But I will admit, last year was kind of the exception to the norm. You really did see a lot of those primetime overs cash. So I got to obviously throw props to that. Speaking of props, any props, smart signals jumping out for you for this one, Cade? There were a couple that caught my eye. One thing I like to do is just isolate the game at hand here, so you can click on your Rithmm matchup, and I kind of just go through each one and just kind of see what's popping out to me. I'm looking for green star plays. Nothing is jumping out too much for me. But then once you get to like the receivers, here's the one I wanted to talk about. Noah Brown. I'm sure you saw this from the Rithmm app, but this is a pretty good edge here. Noah Brown, kind of an underrated or just overlooked guy. I believe he was on the Cowboys, wasn't he, prior to the Commanders?
Correct.
And yeah, you got Terry McLaurin, you got Deebo Samuel. The other thing that I like isolating guys that aren't like the main stars, Cade, is that it's a little harder for the odds makers to set these numbers Like
Absolutely.
Terry McLaurin, Debo, obviously got a bunch of big wide receivers on the other side as well. But like we kind of know their usage and what they're going to produce, or relatively close to what we think. Noah Brown, these supplementary guys, it's kind of harder to set their numbers. So to me, that's an advantage for you as the bettor to not target. And the other thing I always look at is like my buddy John Ewing. He's got a huge Twitter following. You'll see this other with PR people who work for sports books. They'll tweet out the top 5 most popular, props. And to me, that's a kiss of death. Like if you like, Terry McLaurin over receptions, and one of these PR people says the number 1 most bet prop tonight is Terry McLaurin over, like that should scare you. I think a lot of bettors, like they look at it the other way. They're like, oh, that's a good thing. Everyone else likes it. I like it. Typically that means you're falling into the trap of the sports book. So I like these smaller type guys. Noah Brown right now, over 20.5 receiving yards. This is a pretty good edge because Rithmm is predicting 38.2 receiving yards. It's a green star recommended play. That means it's met all the criteria, high threshold that Rithmm puts out there to be a recommended play. He had 27 receiving yards in week 1. It's 20.5. I kind of like that. It's a little juiced up, minus 112. But man, Noah Brown is really checking off some boxes here. So thoughts on this Noah Brown over, Kate? Or I know you're mentioning some passing props. Anything else catching your eye for props for this game?
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the fact about these under the radar guys. I mean, you go back to Jalen Tolbert when we talked about him in week 1 in the opener there. I mean, they were quite literally like maybe 1 to 2 throws away from that hitting if it wasn't for an off-target throw. Thanks, Dak. But I mean, yeah, it goes back to it. Since I do like Love's passing attempts or passing completions for that matter. I mean, it's 20 and a half, 19 and a half, I think is what it was. Yeah, 20 and a half. Projecting around nearly 21.4 is what my model's got it at. I do think there's value in that. So if you take the over, I think you obviously projected to win that roughly a decent amount of time. I think this one is at 19 and a half in some spots for plus money still, depending on where you're at. I don't know how much that line's kind of moved around, but I do like the fact that Jacobs rushing attempts is at 19 and a half as well. I do kind of lean under there because I'm also projecting closer to 17. Yeah, like I said, going back to it, I do think they kind of air the ball through the air more. I wanted to look into tight ends tonight, specifically Luke Musgrave or Tucker Kraft. I haven't figured out which one I like more because I didn't get that far into it. One of them had, I think, Kraft's under, Musgrave over, and the majority of obviously people are targeting Kraft more than Musgrave just because he's the number 1 guy, obviously, naturally. But yeah, I haven't really gotten too far outside of my Jordan Love prop that I have. Those are just some that I'm kind of keeping an eye on that I do like a little bit.
Yeah, great point. I also wanted to ask you, Cade, like props versus game bets. Like, let's say you have your minus 1.5, you got your prop bets. Are you putting a unit on each one? Are you putting more based on your edge? Are you leaning more game versus prop or vice versa? How do you figure out what to risk, conventional game bet versus a prop?
Yeah. So I already have like a unit and a half pending on Packers alone. So I will go typically smaller. I don't want to have like 3-5 units pending on one game. That's kind of outrageous in my opinion. I played props typically pretty small, like maybe a quarter of a unit, if that, maybe a half if I like it enough. Like I said at the very start, since we started, I'm not really a prop guy. I'm getting into the props thanks to Rithmm, obviously. Shout out. But yeah, it's not my first choice. So I'm not going to put my full unit that he usually will on there. So that's just a confidence thing for me. And obviously that might change. I don't really know, depending on how good we get at it. But for now, yeah, I'm a quarter unit guy for props.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And it's funny, like sometimes you'll win your game bet and you'll lose your prop and you'll be like, damn, I should have just played my game bet, and not my prop. But then other times, there are times where like I'll take a dog, they'll get blown out. But thank God I took Dalton Kincaid over 32.5 receiving yards. So sometimes it saves you, sometimes it hurts you. I just think you have to decide as a bettor, what's my edge, what's my discrepancy between what I'm getting and what the market is telling me and what Rithmm is predicting. So again, I don't think there's a perfect answer there, but you got to do what you feel comfortable with. And shout out to you too, like betting too many games. Like I remember I used to live with my buddies in Boston, and there would be a Thursday night game. We'd pregame, we'd go out to Tavern in the Square. This means nothing to you if you live outside of Boston, but we would have 10 bets on the game. And then I realized, I might go 3-7 or 4-6 or 1 have this terrible night. And then over time, I think you bet sports long enough, you're like, let me stick to 1 or 2 or tops 3 bets for a game. You'll just be better off long term. I think protect yourself. So so Cade's got a good number on Packers -1.5. I think you mentioned. Correct. Yeah, and I'm Commanders 3.5, and my one prop would be that that Noah Brown over. So let's move on. A couple other games here. Want to get your thoughts on, Cade. Let's talk about the Jets, because the Jets came through bigly in week 1, covering the number. And they're in another spot this weekend, Cade, where I'm taking the points here because the Buffalo Bills coming off of unbelievable. Cade, you should have texted me and said, live line the Bills when they're down by 15 with 3 minutes left. Imagine the number we would have gotten on that one. But I like to bet against the Bills this weekend. I got Jets +7. This game actually opened Bills as high as -8.5, -8. Public loves the Bills. They're getting 66% of spread bets at DraftKings, but this line has come down in favor of the Jets, getting 8, 8.5, 8, 7.5, 7. Now this is 6.5. 7 is a key number, so I jumped on it earlier this week. If you can't find a 7, I would kind of wait it out, see if it naturally gets back up to 7. But this would match to me a contrarian divisional dog with the line move in their favor. And what I love about this one is I have a couple models on the Jets. First one here, I recommended Green Star play plus 5.5, 5.5. And then my other recommended play +5. So right there, if you're worried you missed the 7, obviously you would have wanted to jump on that. But we have a public all over Bills line going to the Jets. Bills also, as great as they are, maybe slight letdown. It probably took a lot of energy and a lot out of them to come back and win that game. Josh Allen's amazing, obviously, but I kind of want to bet against a team that has an insane comeback late, just because the natural human instinct is to regress a little bit to the mean. Jets are annoyed they lost that game. Maybe Fields is legit, put up a lot of points and look pretty good. Yeah. I got Jets +7 here, and Rithmm is telling me to make this play 5, 5.5. So what do you think here, Cade? Are you going Fireman Ed 2 weeks in a row?
I love the Jets in this spot. I'm so sick to my stomach that I did not get it at 7. I don't even have the 6.5 either, personally. I'm waiting, but yeah, I've wanted Jets ever since the line opened. I just didn't get a chance to look into it more. I know a lot of people actually like the over, not mistakenly, but surprisingly. I love their offense in the week 1, especially against as talented a defense as the Steelers. Yeah, they have the ability to put up points, and yeah, I'm not really surprised about that prediction from Rithmm there either. But yeah, I do lean the over with Jets and the points, but I think there's a world where they kind of sneak by this one and maybe win this one outright too. These are just the type of games that I feel like Josh Allen and them kind of fall through. And yeah, like we've been saying, these early season divisional dogs, they just seem to bark, man. Like I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And shout out to you for pointing out this over, because divisional games, typically you start to see these lines fall, especially outdoors. Weather becomes an issue. Not in this one. This game has fallen in terms of the total, risen in terms of the total. It was 44.5. You're up to 46.5. Really, 47 is a bit of a key number, but if you look at Rithmm, 50.4, and this isn't a caution flag. This is a Green Star recommended over. So I got to kind of agree with you here. You would think Aaron Glenn would get this team to play good defense and really, kind of be that shutdown D. Maybe that'll end up happening. But early on, what was that Steelers game? Was it 66 combined points or something like that?
The only over in the week. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. Yeah, you saw all these unders except for that one, the Bills game, and I think there was one more, but I forget what it was. But yeah, that's a good point by you. The weather shouldn't be an issue at MetLife, and maybe get 2 offenses that really go back and forth. So I'm going to make a note of that one. Good call with the Rithmm edge as well.
Going to actually push that right now because I did not really realize that Rithmm had it 4 points higher than that. So yeah.
Cade, the beauty of our live stream, there can be a bet. You walk into this stream, you're not placing it, and then boom, we talk about it and you make a wager. So let's see, is 46.5 your best number with that one, Cade? I see some 47s.
I have a 46 flat at Bali, which is a local book around, not really local, but yeah, Bali for minus 108 for 46 flat. So that's what I'm taking right now.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, and Rithmm does a good job of giving you all the major books here listed and try to find the best number. So yeah, Sugar House, New Jersey's got a 46 as well. But I'm in Massachusetts, so that doesn't really help me. Anyway, Cade, let's keep on going here. This is the one that I really wanted to kind of pick your brain on because I'm interested to see what number you have for this game. But let's go to the Super Bowl rematch. We got the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. And this one has taken a lot of movement. Obviously, this is going to be an extremely heavily bet game. I'm kind of surprised they didn't flex this into a primetime game.
Yeah,
I don't know. I thought they should have made it a Sunday nighter or a Monday nighter. Or who knows? I can't complain. We got 2 Monday night games, so that's pretty cool. But this is quasi primetime. It's late afternoon. Those 4 o'clock windows typically get extremely heavily bet. But Philly's KC, Eagles KC, I should say. We all remember in the Super Bowl, Eagles curb stomped the Chiefs. Don't remind me. I was on Mahomes in that spot, so I have PTSD, and I don't even want to think about that. But this one's intriguing, Cade, because the line has moved pretty big in favor of the Eagles. We open this game, Kansas City is short favorite, minus 1.5. We've now flipped to Eagles minus 1.5. So it's pretty clear that the early opening number was hammered by wise guys and said, ooh, the wrong team is favored. So I always make a joke on my podcast, Cade, the wrong team is favored. A lot of people say that as if they are smarter than the book and they have this insane mod. It's no, the right team is always favored. And anytime I hear someone say that, it's just a cliche betting term that makes you sound smart when in reality you're saying it only because of your personal bias. So anyway, don't get me started on that. But it looks like this actually was the wrong team favored. All that being said, because Sharps did flip it here toward the Eagles. Now, I will say I'm a little nervous, Cade, because the Eagles right now at DraftKings are getting 70% of spread bets. I do not want to be on a 70% side. But if you look at Circa, 77% of tickets, 95% of the money is on Eagles. And on the money line, 86% bets, 94% dollars are on the Eagles. So I money line the Eagles in this spot. I think you can make a case. It's a great buy low on Kansas City. I'm not going to argue with you there. I like to money line short favorites. I'm not going to lay a 1.5. Eagles win by 1. They go for a 2-point conversion, miss, something weird happens. So I actually got them a little bit earlier this week, just minus 110. But what I really like is the fact that Rithmm is very bullish on Philadelphia here. I have 2 models, both Eagles. Get a load of this, Cade. Rithmm has Eagles minus 3.5. That is a big, big edge over a 1.5 that you're currently having to lay. Green Star recommended play. My other model has Eagles minus 3.1. So I fully admit, if Rithmm had a pick'em, Chiefs minus a half point, Eagles minus 0.2, maybe I wouldn't be so bullish on Philly. But the fact that you're building a case, the line moved toward the Eagles. They do have good bet splits, especially at Circa in Vegas. Rithmm is saying this should be around a field goal game when you're getting a kind of a good price here on the Eagles. And then Xavier Worthy, I think he practiced. He may or may not play. And then Jalen Carter, I would expect a big game out of him. He helped us by spitting on Dak and getting thrown out of that game with the Cowboys. Lost the game check, but you'd have to think rested and he's motivated to play well. So I moneyline the Eagles here, Cade. What's your take on this one?
I agree. I love the Eagles in this spot. There's something that does scare me about Mahomes being a home dog, but I'm willing to take that chance versus the reigning Super Bowl champ who just won this game in a match. Granted, it was neutral field, but yeah, they're familiar with the hostile environments. They play in the NFC East for Pete's sake. I feel like I don't want to act like a psychologist here, but I mean, I might be the only one that thinks the Chiefs looked super sluggish or sleepy, if that's the right word for it. Granted, traveling to Brazil and playing a football game is hard. I get that, but making it to the Super Bowl multiple years in a row eventually has to weigh on a team every so often. So shortening their offseason every single year. And what's even worse is that they didn't even look like they looked like they fixed the issues that they had last year. They look like the same exact team. Their offense is very bland. Granted, it's 1 week. I don't want to overreact about this Chiefs team. We know what they're capable of, but they don't have a run game to speak of still. But meanwhile, Eagles look every bit of the team that cruised past them in the Super Bowl, like literally less than, what was that, 7 months ago maybe? I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not good at math. I didn't. Yeah.
Somewhere in February. Yeah, early February.
Right. As long as people don't get spit on again before the first snap of the game, I think they get the job done relatively easy. I have them at minus 108 on FanDuel, so just before it flipped, which I do like the price on. I still like them at minus 1.5, honestly. I would probably take them more by 1 point, but even money line at the minus 118 is still a good price too. So really it's a preference thing at that point, I guess. Like we've kind of already went over it. Confidence rating wise, I would take the 1.5 personally, but that's just me. Yeah,
great point by you. I'll pay a little more. I mean, you're talking to a guy that moneyline Oklahoma when he probably should have laid the points with Oklahoma. So sometimes I'm like, just win the game. And if I win a little less than I could have, I'm not going to be annoyed because I still won. But to your point, there are situations where, hey, you be a little more bold. You're going to risk reward, that whole sort of thing. You bring up a good point, though, just in terms of the spot. Like, I know it's early in the year and, really rest versus tired hasn't come into play yet. But the Eagles played on a Thursday at home in America and then get to travel to, obviously, Kansas City. The Chiefs had to go to Brazil. They played on Friday, so they're already a day behind, and they got to deal with traveling, to the Southern Hemisphere and back. So maybe I'm making too much of that. Maybe it's not that big a deal. But to me, when you're building a case to bet a game, you're trying to, check off as many little things that all align in the same direction. So dog to fave line move toward the Eagles, good bet splits at circa, a little bit of a rest advantage. And really the coup de grace, the best part here is the fact that Rithmm is, again, predicting about a 3-point win. So I'm all in the Eagles here. See if we can get a win for our old buddy James Santor, who will probably be at the game and going buck wild for that one. Yeah, so go Eagles. Let's hit on a couple college games here, Cade, because there were a couple that I wanted to ask you about. So I'm just going to flip over to college football and focus on a couple that really caught my eye for this weekend. So the first one is Clemson and Georgia Tech. Now, if we scroll down, obviously you can always use the search tab here and find it, but it's a noon game, I think. So hopefully it's not too much further down here. Here we go. This is one of my favorite games of the weekend. So Clemson, Ja Tech. Clemson is only 1-1. I moneylined them against LSU. They let me down. So I'm already annoyed by Dabo Sweeney. You're going to rest on your laurels, your reputation forever. Are you actually going to be good again? Anyway, whole side note, Cade. But this game has really moved toward Georgia Tech. We opened this game at a lot of shops as high as, let me just pull it up for you. I think it was Clemson minus 6. Kind of a high number. The immediate move without really any buyback whatsoever has been consistently toward Georgia Tech. So all those minus 6s down to 5, 5s down to 4, 4s down to 3.5, 3.5s down to 3. I mean, one thing I love is when open to current consistently goes toward one direction. Now, some people may argue and say, ooh, you're getting the worst of the number. And I will admit, yeah, the line's getting worse, but it's getting worse because theoretically the sharps are still hitting it. So even though, you may not see a ton of value now, what if this 3.5 gets down to 3 and closes 2.5 and you still beat the closing line? So the fact that Clemson is a ranked team, right now they're getting upwards of 2/3 of spread bets at DraftKings, yet the line keeps going to Georgia Tech. I love Georgia Tech in the points here, Cade. I jumped on them plus 3.5. Now we're showing 3 right now on our board, but I think if you shop around, you can still find the hook. It's super important. There was a game we talked about last week, Iowa State, where they ended up losing by 3. The 3.5 with the hook with Iowa covered the number. You got to always get these hooks. 3 is the most common key number in football because of the field goal. So you got to get the hooks if you're on the dog here. But Publix Clemson, lines going to Georgia Tech, unranked versus ranked, super low ticket count. And then we pop open 2 rhythm system matches where, believe it or not, Georgia Tech is favored by the rhythm model, minus 0.6 points. Recommended model in green, Georgia Tech minus a half point. So this is one of my favorite plays of the weekend. I love it when I can marry the betting market and the movement and the splits and the system matches with what Rithmm is telling me, and Rithmm is saying, hey, if you're feeling like a little upset you missed a better number on Ja Tech, maybe this is a consolation prize. They have them basically winning the game by a half point. So always scroll down. You still can get some 3.5s. A lot of books are at 3, but FanDuel plus 3.5 minus 122. PointsBet 3.5 minus 118. A lot of people will say, ooh, I don't want to pay that juice. That's too high, 120. I think it's worth it. Again, I'll just continue to point back to Iowa there. But I'm on 3.5 here with Georgia Tech. What do you think about this one, Cade?
I like it a lot. We did talk about this one in my podcast, the Hammer Time podcast on Apple, Spotify, Twitter, and Instagram, by the way. There's your promo.
Attaboy. Good job. Appeal to your own horn. No one else will, man. Someone told me that a long time ago. You got to do it.
That's fair. Yeah, I, as a pure college football fan, I said this morning. You're rooting for Georgia Tech here. I've already went out and on a limb, and I've pretty much said that this is one of my sleeper dark horses for the ACC this year, and I'm still going to die on that hill. And it started with this game. My model does have Georgia Tech at 3.5, which was alarming. I just took them
minus 3.5 Georgia Tech.
Minus 3.5.
Ooh, I love that.
With an expected win expectancy of 53%, they're going to put up points according to the model. So I will put a bet in that for Georgia Tech money line. Sorry. I know Clemson's owned this in the past, but it's hard for me to back a team that started so sluggish in its first 2 games. And then next thing you know, you come into such a hostile spot where you have a short line like this. It's a pure college football spot. And if you've watched the sport long enough, these are the kind of games that like these fans will want to see. So yeah, I like Georgia Tech on the upset here. This is the one that kind of moves the needle for them as a whole in this season. So I will I'll be taking Georgia Tech money line.
Nice. I love it, man. And I got a little stat for you guys. Unranked versus ranked. This is one of my favorite spots. If you can align the move with the splits and that team also with the contrarian play, the line move in their favor, good splits, and it's unranked versus ranked. Remember, public doesn't know a lot about these teams, but they know Clemson, name brand. They have a ranking. Just take the ranked team laying a short number. But actually, unranked teams versus ranked opponents this year are so far 17-8 against the spread, 68%. That's really good. So that's a little cherry on top that you can hopefully take advantage of. So I'm right there with you. And your model, minus 3.5 all day, man. I love that. So let's go Yellow Jackets in this one.
It's big, yeah.
Last one here that I want to hit on is Georgia and Tennessee. So let me just cut to the chase here. Find this Georgia-Tennessee game. This one also features a really good move here. Now, there has been a little bit of buyback because a lot of books open this game. Tennessee as listed as high as Kate. I saw like Georgia -8, a pretty big number. And immediately, immediately has really plummeted away from Georgia toward Tennessee. Georgia, I should say, Cade. But -8. This line actually got down to 3.5. And I always want to give a shout out to my guy, Thomas Gable. He's the Race and Sportsbook director at the Borgata in New Jersey. Cade, do you ever go there? You're going to have a great time. It's a great book. But he had a really good point. He was on a VEASAN program, and he said, clearly Tennessee's getting a lot of sharp action, but you might want to wait because 3.5, it might kind of tick back up a little bit as you have some buyback on Georgia. And he's absolutely right, because when this line got down, Tennessee as high as +8.5 all the way down to +3.5, we have seen it tick back up. So now it's back up to 4. And I do see one book at 4.5 with FanDuel. I think you jump on that right now because the public is all over Georgia. They're getting upwards of 80% of spread bets at DraftKings, yet the line's moving toward Tennessee. And that 4.5 might end up being your best price because there's really only one 4.5 I see right now at FanDuel. And that hook is juiced toward Tennessee, like it may get back down to 4. So I think if you're playing this game, you want to bet against the public and take this sharp move. The 4.5 could be the price to pounce on. But I really like, as a cherry on top, that I have 2 Rithmm models, both on Tennessee, both Green Star recommended plays. Tennessee +3.3 and Tennessee plus 1.6. Now that gets me excited there, Cade. You're getting basically a 1.5, 2-point game. You're against the public. You're taking a home dog. You can play the angle of no one believes in us. And maybe you win the game outright. Maybe you lose by 3. I think you want to grab that 4.5 as soon as you can. And again, shop around because we're going to, at Rithmm, show you exactly that one book you got to shop for, which is FanDuel. So what's your model for this one, Cade? What are your thoughts? You like Tennessee in the points, or you could make a case you're buying low on Georgia at this point?
I'll make a little short story because at first, this was your weekly Cadillacs mistake here because I got so excited when I see this line drop so low towards Georgia that I bought Georgia money line at like minus 160 something until this was before looking at pretty much anything, because on paper I was like, this Tennessee team is so new. They're so refreshed. Like there's just like no way they can host a team as talented as Kirby Smart in Georgia. There's no way. Little did I know, Tennessee is also favored by 2.8 in my model. Ooh. I've never hit the buyback button in my life so fast. I've never been to Neyland. I know people who have been to Neyland. It's one of the most toughest places to play in the sport. This game alone has a ton of layers, a whole lot of magnitude. And if Tennessee hits a big player or a big play, Georgia's not going to be ready for that because they have a terrible secondary this year. They have 6 corners alone that have played significant time this year. They've allowed 13 of 21 targets to be caught alone for over 20 plus yards this year already. And that's just the opponents that they've played, which is AKA nobody. For short story. My personal opinion, Georgia cannot win a shootout. Rocky Top might be the most annoying sound or song in the entire country to anyone who's not a Tennessee fan, obviously. But my things that I think things are going to – this has got an eerie 22 Alabama-Tennessee vibe to it, in my opinion, if you guys remember that game. I'll take Tennessee with the points, but quite frankly, I don't think you need them because I think they're winning this game outright. There's just too many factors in for this game for Tennessee to not win this game.
That would be fantastic. I'll take that all day, my man. And by the way, we haven't gotten into like musical interests. Are you a Morgan Wallen fan, Cade?
It's not my first choice, but I won't mute it if it comes on the radio.
Okay. Well, my wife, she loves Morgan Wallen. She's gotten me into his new CD or album, whatever. And there's a lot of Tennessee references, a lot of like orange references. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe we'll be bumping some Morgan Wallen if Tennessee can pull this one off. So
they might.
That'll be pretty sweet. Not gonna lie.
A lot of Dixieland delight going on there. That's for sure. Tennessee song, by the way, not Alabama. For you Roll Tide fans, disgusting.
No, I'm with you. So that being said. Let's wrap it up here, Cade. We always want to make our buddy who's our buddy, man? I'm blanking. Parker.
One of them.
We want to make Parker happy. Yeah, because Parker makes us look good, and Parker always says, before you leave, before you sign out, can you just run down your best plays here, your best bets? So shout out to our guy Parker. I'm rocking Commanders plus 3.5 here tonight. Noah Brown over 20.5 receiving yards. Fireman Ed and the Jets plus 7. Eagles money line. Georgia Tech 3.5, Tennessee 4.5. I love that play. Cade, can you rattle off your plays for me, buddy?
Yeah, going back to it, Packers minus 1.5. Also doubled down for another half a unit for minus 2.5, and then I dabbled a little bit of a quarter unit on Love's passing attempts. In terms of other plays this weekend, I did like Miami minus 17. There is the over that we talked about in the Buffalo Jets game. I did take the over 46 flat literally like 5 minutes ago. So if you follow action, it's probably posted that already. And other than that, I think that might be it. Yeah, for now. I mean, there's a ton posted. Obviously, I have a lot of action, but we'd be here for a scroll amount of time if we went over all this already.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm glad we overlap with a lot of these. And anytime you tell me I'm getting a dog 3.5 and they should be favored by your model, It's all you got to say to me, man. That makes me a little bit more confident, which is great. Just want to remind everyone, we do have the 25% off. Use promo code START25. All these models we talk about, you can follow the Rithmm one. You can create your own. Makes it kind of fun because you can bet on yourself and kind of put in different factors and variables that you feel are important to create your own model. And also want to remind everyone, the Rithmm leaderboard contest. This is pretty amazing. You went up to $1,000 by tracking your best bets. So I've already seen some tweets from Rithmm that people have cashed and they're making some money. So you might as well throw your hat in the ring, see if you can be at the top of the Rithmm leaderboard. So, hey, Kate, you know what, Kate? We help someone win. They should give us some juice. Give me $10.
We deserve a little bit of cut, right? Yeah, at least lunch.
Exactly.
I'll take a Jersey Mike sub.
Yeah, cut above, man. Amen. I'm right there with you. But yeah, any final thoughts, Kate? I'm just excited for another big weekend here, and as always, man, great job tonight.
Loaded week 3 slate and loaded week 2 slate for NFL as well. Yeah, I'm ready to sit on the recliner for about 12 hours again for the next 2-3 days. So yeah, let's do it.
Kate, I'll tell you this real quick before we leave. My buddy's getting married, so shout out to my guy Lars. When you're as old as me, Kate, I'm almost 40. You're actually on to second marriages at this point. So he married his high school sweetheart. They got divorced. She wasn't the one for him. He's getting remarried. Anyway, I'm leaving tomorrow for a weekend of debauchery and craziness and fun times. That being said, I might miss a lot of these games. So either I'm going to get all my boys drunk in front of a TV and we're going to sweat these games together, or there won't be any TVs. I'll be out in the woods in Western Mass. And then I'm just going to have to look at my phone and be like, hey, are we winning? Are we losing? So it's one of those weekends where you wish you could sweat every game, but sometimes life, tells you got to do something else. So
it happens.
You better watch all these ones for me. That's what I'm telling you, I guess.
I got 8 screens up. We'll be fine. We'll be good.
Awesome, man. Well, great job, Cade. Thank you to Parker behind the scenes. Shout out to Megan and Brian doing a great job running Rithmm. We'll be right back at it next Thursday. That'll be our 4th Rithmm Rundown, Cade. But good luck to everyone. Enjoy Rithmm, cash some tickets, and we will see you guys next Thursday. Good luck.